And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is the LinkedIn Playbook 2. This is my podcast, The Gaming Playbook. If you're new, hi, I'm Harry Foku, and you either registered or stumbled upon a live stream, which is going to be with 4 of the biggest creators. I included me there a bit by accident, but we got 3 amazing guests, experts in speaking, video, and B2B podcasts. And I'm here as the resident ghostwriter, copy person, here to make money. So as people trickle in, oh my God, the lives worked well, amazing. I'll introduce everyone and we'll get straight into it. All righty. So first up, we have Nausheen. Hi. We have Ryan. Hello, Ryan.
What's up?
And we have Danny. Let's fix the cover, put myself where the logo is. Boom. Wait, even amazing. Alrighty. So I'll do a quick round of introductions and we'll go straight into the live stream in terms of the mastermind. And then on the hour, so in 60 minutes, we're going to do Q&A. As everyone asks questions, please keep them coming. I'm going to collect them in a little text document. So we'll get straight into it. Ryan, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much, Harry. Danny, Nausheen, great to see you guys too. I'm Ryan R. Sullivan. We're the only lead generation company that combines LinkedIn and podcasting to bring leads to your inbox. What that means in English is we start a podcast for you or your business, and that's going to obviously create content for you. And then we also combine that with platforms like LinkedIn and YouTube for lead generation, and that's what we specialize in.
Amazing. And Danny?
So I'm Danny DelVecchio, and I own a niche video marketing agency specializing in helping like founders and companies create social videos for LinkedIn and all the other video channels that are out there, but really specializing in LinkedIn just because we specialize in working with more of the B2B side of the businesses. So people are kind of more interested in LinkedIn. And, and I'm laughing at your brother, Harry, right now saying that he's fangirling in the chat. So that's kind of fun. And I'm happy to be here with all you guys too. So thanks for having me.
Amazing. Yeah, resident tech support. I had him on standby just in case.
Moderator.
Okay. Yeah, amazing. And finally, Nausheen.
Thanks, Harry. It's great to be here with you. Lovely gentlemen, even if I'm sitting in this weird, interesting co-working space. So apologies in advance for the audience in case you ever hear a lot of noise in my background. My attempt is to minimize it, but can't always control it. So I'm Nausheen. I'm a public speaking coach, which means that I help people speak as the best versions of themselves, whether it's on podcasts or live events like this one, or doing presentations, keynotes, big stages or small. I come from the corporate world. I was at Procter & Gamble for many, many years. And then I was also a filmmaker for a long time. So I bring bits of experience from both speaking in a very corporate setting, as well as helping people speak as themselves on camera.
Fantastic. And one thing I haven't mentioned, I've worked with everyone here. Danny, very recently, last week, who's helped me make my first video, which will be fun.
Whoa.
And Nausheen, I've been through her cohort, really, really helped me. I used to talk very, very, very fast and not be as confident as I am now. And Ryan's helped me massively with the podcast, helping me get my first sponsor lead and just generally making the whole system a lot more efficient. So it's great to have everyone here. And a very quick intro to myself. Quit my job in April this year, built a ghostwriting business to 6 clients now, saved around 20 when I combined coaching, went to around 15K monthly recurring. And essentially what I'm doing is helping other leaders in the gaming industry make money using LinkedIn. So pretty much a plug-in business development team, all the while having a bit of fun. And I wear this hat for attention and I talk about Crocs also for attention. And we'll get straight into it. All righty. So the format, everyone's brought a question to ask the other guests that they generally have about their business. So we're going to get straight into the first question, which is this one. And I believe the person who asked this was, why am I forgetting?
Guilty as charged.
Danny.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Danny, why did you ask this question and what is the context behind it?
Yeah. So, what I want to know is how do you see your particular industry or niche changing in 2025 and what are you doing to adjust to it? And The reason that I'm asking this question is because I actually posted it this morning. I'm interested in three things that I'm interested in improving on in 2025 are podcasting, public speaking, and writing. So since I have the three of you experts here right now, I'm very interested to see where those things are going, in your industry, and like how you guys are working on, building in 2025 off those changes.
Amazing. All right, Ryan, I'll single you out.
I love it. I love it as much as you want, Harry. So yeah, broader niche. If we just let's look at marketing for a second, or industry, I should say. It's changing a lot. There's a lot of fat cutting. What that means is the companies are paying social media managers and people to post content a lot of money, and they're not getting that money back. And so not only people, but also vendors that work with businesses, not only are they going to need to improve, but they're going to need to show results. And so not only are the people in the company going to need to show the results, these vendors are going to need to show the results, and we're one of those vendors. So on the broader marketing, that's going to change, meaning what I kind of call just like fat cutting, taking out what's not generating results for us because we need to maximize profit, et cetera, all those things. And then if we zoom into podcasting, I mean, from a cultural side, I won't go into it, but it's literally changed the world, especially in the US in the last few weeks. So, that's a callback to that. But yeah, I mean, podcasts are exploding. So they're just getting bigger. I can go deeper into how and why, but that's just the reality. So whether it's, you're on your drive to work or podcast for business, there's a lot changing there for sure.
So quickly to double click on the second part of the question. So with podcasts becoming a bigger part of the world, like you said, how are you planning to adjust to it?
Yeah, so I think we're looking at podcasting now. When I came in, say 2019, first podcast I made for a business, right? Startup marketing business. It was very much account based, meaning you interview people, maybe some of them will become clients, and then that's kind of it, right? Now, podcasting can be your YouTube SEO. It can be your Google SEO. Like my website doesn't rank on first page of Google, my YouTube videos do, right? So that's really what I'm looking at in terms of, okay, how are we adjusting to this? We are trying to squeeze as much juice out of the podcast as possible, meaning how many different jobs can it have? So I think that's like the main focus is not only like, how do we get more views and more downloads, but how do we make it really efficient? And that happened, not to go on a tangent, but quickly, that happened with company podcasts, B2B podcast, if you're in that space. Basically, companies created podcasts. They didn't really know why they were creating them, and then they fail. So that's really what we're focused on in the next year or two, which is guaranteeing that success from the beginning, which is in the strategy piece, which we all do in some capacity here. So you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I resonate a lot. I did all my sales through account-based podcasting at my recruitment company. And it was very much, let's interview people and we might as well record it and do a podcast because that is what gets them on the call. And there's so much that goes around it to optimize. And like you said, it's very hard to do right. So I think that is going to be a massive thing that just continues to get bigger and bigger. I will moderate this a little bit and go to Nausheen. What do you think your industry or niche will change in 2025?
Sure. So public speaking is already changing in two big ways, and I love both of them. And I believe this will continue on a very strong trend in 2025. So first, the definition of public speaking is changing. Once upon a time, we always imagined public speaking to be these stuffy, older people standing on the stage behind a podium and addressing a crowd in very much a one-way lecture. Or we would imagine politicians, which you guys just talked about earlier. But now, public speaking, the definition of it is really expanding to speaking like this. So we're doing public speaking right now. But 5 years ago, people didn't think of this as public speaking. Any time that you speak to more than one or two people, that's public speaking. So what that means essentially is that people are now becoming more aware of how they communicate. And very often, they're now becoming aware of the shortcomings that they might have, especially when they are speaking all day, every day in these meetings and these online presentations and sales calls, places where communicating clearly and succinctly really pays off. So I love that expansion of that term, because no one wants to be just confined to a stage speaking to an audience once a year or twice a year. Public speaking really is about strong communication skills. The second thing that's changing is the delivery. Again, people would think speeches are these very formal, written out, memorized, or things that you need to read out from a script. And that's completely changing. The language that we speak is changing. Simple is better. That's not just for the writing world, it's very much true for the speaking world. Yes, there is beauty in being eloquent and using analogies and making things very simple and accessible. And that's not to be complicated with dumbing things down necessarily. It's about being as simple as you need to be. There's beauty in that. So people are recognizing that more and more. And thankfully, using stuffy, outdated language less and less. So those are the two big changes in public speaking.
Amazing. And then following into the second part of Danny's question, how are you adjusting to this? Because this changes, I'm guessing, your business.
Yes. So there was a time when public speaking coaches would think of specific formats of delivery. So for example, you would just have a speech coach who would only work with people on formal talks or formal speeches. Now, I believe it's less about the format and the platform and more about the person. And I do believe that anyone who wants to build a personal brand has to speak in public, even if it's just online, if it's just doing podcasts, creating videos, doing live events, doing webinars. All of that is public speaking. And you cannot elevate your brand beyond a certain point if you're not being visible, if you're not speaking. It is a personal brand. So you speaking and being visible is the personal part of that personal brand. So really moving away from that very rigid work scope where you only work with people on keynotes or you only work with people on delivering a specific presentation. I believe you're going to have less and less of that and more of person coaching, where you're coaching the person to be a strong speaker, regardless of where they're going to speak.
I think that applies to all of our businesses, right?
I was going to say DJs definitely need you. You might have to get a DJ client but you're right. I mean, it's all, I'm in that industry on the side. That's my other business, but I'm with you on that, Nausheen. I think I think all of our industries are there's a lot of blending going on, there was strict, this is what we do, this is how we do it. And now all of this is kind of combining as one. Video can turn into text can turn into video. If your camera's on, you're public speaking, et cetera.
And the type of speaking that people did, now those are all blending as well. So I see that, for example, with corporate speakers, people that were in the corporate world at one time would only go and speak at events. But now they're looking to do more podcasts. They want to create videos. And inversely, people that were building their personal brand online, they might think of creating videos or being on YouTube, but then now they're stepping out from beyond the screen. They're going and doing these keynotes in person. So it's all blending, and that's great. It's great to see that it's not one type of speaking isn't exclusively the domain of one type of person.
Yep, no, couldn't agree more. I'll go with my niche now. So my niche is ghostwriting. And when I started ghostwriting, I went and paid for a bunch of other ghostwriters to teach me what they do. And I noticed everyone does it a bit differently. Now, if I have the goal of making my client more leads and more money, then I realized then ghostwriting it's just a small part of it. Like the content is just a small part. So if I'm thinking I guess next ghostwriter is kind of what Nausheen said, look at the entire person and how can we make this founder, in my case, make as many leads as possible. And for me, that's making sure they're connecting with the right people, sending them messages or giving them the ability to do that. And with the kind of age of AI, when I first started 6 months ago, I was using a little bit of AI, but mostly to come up with ideas. Now the AI is helping a lot more when it comes to drafting the initial format of the post and also going through an interview like this and then picking up ideas I didn't even think were ideas. These really cut down the time I need to spend on the content direction and the writing. It's still a lot of mental energy, don't get me wrong, but I can then put that time into doing more DMs or doing more events. which also work. And the best thing about content is there's a lot of side benefits. Like some of my clients get leads consistently. Some of them get leads once every couple months from content. But when they go to an event, they get loads of people saying, I've been following your content, and it makes that conversation that much better, which might get to a deal, which how do you put a price on that as a ghostwriter? It's hard to quantify. So with that in mind, I think the best ghostwriters will be the one who, yes, they're doing great content. You can get leads, but then they actually activate every other part, which in my world, it's making sure the DMs are on point. Like the founder's account can be sending DMs or shouldn't or isn't. So if it's a binary choice, you might as well make it do it. And if the founder's not doing it, at least have someone help facilitate that, whether that's someone on their team or someone like me. So for me, it's just having that full service, in my opinion, is what will make the ghostwriting business that much better. Also, it's a lot nicer helping 3 people a lot rather than 10 people a little from a business perspective as well.
Damn, there's a lot there too, Harry. You got AI, you got should founders be answering their own comments?
This comments, I didn't mention comments. Basically, yes. But there's an 80-20 rule where after a certain point, you can get help. But yeah, comments is less important than the other stuff. Just more DMs, like starting new conversations with people. Making that process easier.
Yeah, and I love that you're already talking about that evolution of AI, because I sometimes refer to being stilted like AI or being robotic like AI. And now more and more, my husband's calling me out on that. And he's like, Nausheen, you can no longer say that AI is robotic. It's only robotic in the hands of people that don't know how to use it. So it's a very interesting conversation.
I was going to
We used AI in the course. Sorry to say, Ryan, but like AI helped me tell me how many words per minute I was doing. And then it helped me become a better speaker. So AI made me less robotic.
You have to want it. That's the thing that I realized. I'm not interested. I'm not watching AI videos. I don't care about AI software, ChatGPT. I'm not interested. That's me. So then I had to figure out how to use it, how to find the ways. And now I found the ways to actually use it. And to your point, Nausheen, yes, it can speak in your voice, but you have to train it to do that. It's like anything. But I actually I think Danny's example is one of the best, where I won't tell it for you guys, but using AI scripts, and at this point, if you train it good enough, Danny, you fill in the gap, but people don't know if you set up everything else correctly.
Yeah, I'm like experimenting obviously with AI right now, like everybody else is, right? And I did an experiment recently where I came up with a topic, and I had AI write me a script for this particular topic. And then I wrote my own script for a video for the same topic. And literally the 2 videos like performed almost identical. Like there was no and I was really hoping, it's not what I was hoping for. It was not I was hoping that my one that I wrote myself was like going to kick the AI one's ass, but it didn't like work out that way. But what I learned is that it is very effective if you are feeding it the right information. And to me, the best thing to feed it is like something that allows it to capture your personality. So if you feed it like an entire podcast, or if you feed it an entire 10-minute YouTube video, the way I fed it a 10-minute YouTube video that I did, and said, make sure you capture the same vibe and tone and language that I use in this video, that's where you can potentially get an output that is equally as good as what you would write yourself. So it certainly makes ghostwriting a little bit easier when you can have that potential. And especially I'm not I don't like writing at all. I would way rather get in front of the camera and speak than write out content, right? So the fact that I can get a nice written piece of content from my video that, using AI, and it gets me 85 to 95% of the way there, I'm that's a lifesaver for me, because it's taking away one of the things that I really don't like doing. And also one of the things that I would kind of also feel a little bit weird outsourcing.
Here.
I love it.
All right. Time to move on to the next question, which is from Nausheen. Nausheen, what is your question and the context behind it?
Sure. So most of us have businesses that are fueled by LinkedIn. That's where I got my start as well, almost 2 years ago, where I started with LinkedIn on LinkedIn, and that's pretty much where I've grown my business. But 2025 has a big question for me, and that's the question I'm asking all of you. Do you plan on expanding outside of LinkedIn in 2025? And if so, which platforms will you go on? Do you have a plan for this? And so on.
Single someone out.
Sure, let's have Danny talk about this.
Okay, cool. So yeah, very similar to you. 2023 was like the year that I went all in on LinkedIn, right? I remember I was in a mastermind meeting with a friend of mine who was running this mastermind group, and he's like, "Who has a New Year's resolution?" And I was like, "I do. My 2023 New Year's resolution is to post every single day on LinkedIn for the year 2023." And I did that. And it was the best decision that I possibly ever made, because like it was July of 2023 that my business like really took off, and I started to, turn a couple $1,000 into 5-figure months like consistently, right? So when it came to my 2024 resolution, I was like, I'm going to get on YouTube. Now, when I got on YouTube, I got on it with no expectation. Like the only expectation that I had for myself and the only goal that I had for YouTube was to get out 100 videos in 2024, right? And then I would look to kind of adapt YouTube as a conversion and lead generation channel in 2025. So my 2025 resolution now is a podcast, and I want to get a podcast out every week. And the podcast is going to essentially feed my YouTube channel, more content on my YouTube channel, more content for LinkedIn. It's also going to be more content that I can share on Instagram and TikTok, where I started putting all my videos on Instagram and TikTok now also. I'm not as focused on those platforms as conversion channels. Like right now, it's all about just building awareness on those platforms. But that is kind of where I'm going. I'm starting to and I'm also my newsletter too, which is, I have a weekly newsletter that goes out right now, which essentially is a version of my long form YouTube video where I put it into my written content. So I am starting to build this marketing flywheel with all these different pieces, so that I am not just 100% dependent on LinkedIn to bring me all my business. So I know that was a lot, but hopefully that helped.
We get it. I could jump in. Danny, I'm with you. I'm following your lead in a sense. I have not dedicated to the other platforms. I also have an audience that knows of me as a rapper and a DJ on Instagram. So few thousand people there. Love everybody. Appreciate you. So I'm figuring out, I'm like, do I use this page? I still release music. So do I create a separate page, et cetera, all that type of stuff. I want to do, get somebody to help manage this, obviously. I'll give you guys a good quote that I think we can all agree with, which is, if you don't have a VA, you're the VA. So that's what I've realized. We're going to get into that a little bit more maybe on my question. But yeah, I want somebody to help. I do want to expand past LinkedIn. Yes, same thing, YouTube. Figuring out YouTube, now hiring some help for YouTube, which is good. So that's my goal for the next year, is to really dial that in and get started on these other platforms. But let me give you guys the big one, which we all need to do, which I think Harry's probably doing it the best right now, which is in person. That's the platform that we need to be really pushing. We need to expand our reach past past the internet. We're really used to it. We're super comfortable there. That's what I'm trying to figure out in this next year, is how many can I go to one in-person meetup a week or even a month? Can I host my own, right? And do content that way. So that's kind of how I'm looking to expand.
Very cool. Yeah. I'm just thinking through your answers, what platforms I'm on. So I have a newsletter, which is pretty much announcing stuff like this, events, and every now and then I might give a tip. But at the moment, it's just like, hey, I'm here. Please look at it. But like, I sent an email this morning because I forgot to mention it to the newsletter that this was happening. Like 30 people clicked it. It's like, okay. So the newsletter is very powerful. So we'll keep that. as a way where it's an audience that we can capture. And honestly, it's overpowered the podcast, because the podcast is pretty much YouTube videos. Amazing. And then the podcast is shorts, which I could go and post on TikTok and Instagram. I just kind of CBA right now, but I definitely could. At the moment, it's just going on LinkedIn and YouTube to, like, I think what you guys said, more awareness. But I've had my biggest success is from events like these, actually, because they can hear someone from a long form perspective. So this is an event on LinkedIn, but then this becomes a podcast. This becomes a thing that they can listen on Spotify while they're driving, and they can just spend more time with us. And the events, like half of my clients came from events. The other half came from podcasts, and one came from content. The coaching clients, most of them came from LinkedIn. Makes sense. But like actual ghostwriting, they need to trust you. And to accelerate trust, in my world, it's podcast, or as in have them on a podcast, or speak to them in person at an event, hold their shoulder, laugh, kind of make them do the deal in person. And yeah, I want to do more and more events. So I did my first big event in Barcelona, which did really well. So 100 people coming. Did another one in Stockholm in a couple of weeks. And once you get a critical mass, you get a couple local supporters. It's not that hard to do a time and a place type event. And that's where you make the big relationships, I guess. So for me, I'm going to expand more into more events and more podcasts next year, and spend less time writing, actually. So I want to really get either help on the writing so I can do more of that stuff, because that stuff is irreplaceable. No one can replace Nausheen on the stage. But once you have enough content on video, maybe Nausheen should be doing more stuff on stage. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I love that we're talking about essentially deepening the relationships that we have with our audience as well as potential clients. And that's something that all of us realize on some level, where certain types of creative initiatives have different levels of impact, right? Writing a post doesn't have the same impact as seeing a video. Seeing a video doesn't have the same impact as seeing someone speak live in the moment, unedited. And that doesn't have the same impact as meeting someone in real life. So the people that I've met over the last year have probably made the deepest impact. And that's what all of you are echoing. So for sure, it's about the different levels of impact and making sure that your personal brand gets to the deepest point of that relationship possible.
For sure. And I will touch on the how, actually. I wouldn't be able to do it unless I escape the hamster wheel, and that is very hard. So once you start a business, actually escaping delivery is not easy. And when I mean escaping delivery, I mean training people to do it to your standard, not necessarily escaping it because you don't enjoy it. I do enjoy it. I just hit my ceiling. So the way to do these more in-person events is basically training people, I think, is the solution. Because if we can't do that, then we're stuck. That's the way I see it. And that topic is a massive topic. So hopefully I want to ask one of you guys in the Q&A your experience with training people. But yeah, I think the how, you just need more people on the team. At least that's the way I see it. Alrighty.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to execute the plan that I have going forward without like bringing in help to get it done. So as far as like what I'm investing in when it comes to content right now, like I'm heavily investing in the video editing team that helps me do all of my video edits for all my short form. And they also fully manage my YouTube channel. Nice. So they do all the posting for YouTube. They do the SEO and keywords. They help me come up with the ideas and topics, and they do all the thumbnails and all that stuff. So, you know, all I need to do is be the person that makes the content, right? I'm also investing in somebody to help with my newsletter. Like I told you before, I don't like writing. So they help me get my thoughts out from my YouTube videos and get it into written form, and also like create the landing pages and all that kind of stuff that I also just don't want to be doing myself. So I have somebody that is doing that. And then I have somebody that's just advising me on the content, on like how I can essentially level up the content, whether it's because maybe it's to try to get more sales from the content, or whether it's to try to get more views and followers. I have somebody that's just kind of like I have as an advisor. So between like all those people, I have a significant investment in content. but like 95% of my business is generated through my content. So obviously, that investment's worth it.
That makes sense. Delegation, man. I've been the bottleneck for, obviously we all are become, you're the bottleneck when you don't have anybody, and then once you have somebody, then you're still the bottleneck. And then all you're doing is try to not be that anymore. But I'm following suit with you, Danny. I'm letting my team do more. I'm letting them have the video, not only help come up with the ideas, but take the videos, run with the thumbnails. You guys tell me what the thumbnail text should be. I want to control all that for so long, and I just gotta let them run with it. But I'm with you, man. Would not be here without my team. They're incredible, man.
Alrighty, we'll move on to the third question, which is my question, and I will be a bit cheeky on it. So the question is, how have you evolved your offers over the last year? So I'll give some context, and I'll pretty much let everyone pitch their offer, because that's the best way to learn what their offer is, and then understand how it is evolved, because I think it will help a lot of people here at home. That's kind of the first part. This is the reason I wanted to ask this question, because I think it'll be very useful to hear how the first offer came to be, and then how it's come to where it is now, and to see that journey. So I will start with Nausheen. So how has your offer evolved over the last year, and what is your current offer?
So I pretty much just started with working with whoever wanted to work with me. And that was like from the beginning, I had people reaching out to me to ask if I could help them with something specific. And part of that was I was still in data gathering mode, where I wanted to understand what is the demand for the most. Is it, for example, that people want help with specific speeches or keynotes? Or do they want to get better at speaking up in the office, at work? What is it that they're struggling with? Am I helping folks go from 0 to 1? So people that had never spoken on stage before, who have massive stage fright, am I helping them overcome their nerves? Or am I helping people that have a specific level of experience, but they've reached a plateau of mediocreness? And am I helping them surpass that mediocrity and get to the top 1% speaker level? So those were the questions that I had for myself going into this year. And now that I've basically worked with both people that have traditional jobs, who want to climb the corporate ladder, who want to get to the C-suite essentially, as well as entrepreneurs and founders, people building their personal brands. And what I understand is that I really have to look at it from the point of view of their psychology more than the specific job that they might have or the specific thing that they need help with. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm evolving the offers more to help people become the most impressive and impactful version of themselves when they speak anywhere. And that I've seen as the one uniting factor. So whether you are, for example, an exec and you want to get to a VP, a director, or a C-level exec, and speaking well, being able to present your case in meetings, that's standing in the way. Or if you're a founder or an entrepreneur and you're getting that courage to go from writing posts to actually being visible, to being on camera, to speaking on podcasts. So the psychology of these two types of people is similar. That's what I've arrived at after being open to working with everyone during this year. So now going forward, I'm going to be looking at pretty much separating the offers based on that. So whether you're someone who faces a lot of nerves when they speak, regardless of where you might need to speak, or if you're someone who has a certain level of experience, but then you want to make sure that you're extremely refined and polished, or in the words of one of my ex-clients, you speak like a president. That's what your goal is. So that's really how I'm going to be evolving the offers going forward.
Cool. Tactical question. You mentioned you would work with anyone. So I'm guessing that included one-on-one. But my experience with you was in a group setting. I'm curious, are you going to look into continuing a group setting? Do you have all versions? Do you have like a ladder? I'm curious how that is set up. Like, how do you help people one-on-one if you do, and then group setting? And then is there another way people can get help from you?
Yeah, I was doing mainly one-on-one coaching for a while. It was very much like an 80-20 split. And it's extremely time consuming. So I'll actually be looking to invert that as much as I can. So doing only one-on-one coaching for a very select number of clients and not going beyond 3 or 4 clients a month, and really expanding the group offering to something that can run the year round. That's the initial thinking on that. Because right now, I had a group program, which Harry, you were a part of, which launched and then it had a very specific end. And what I noticed was that it was difficult for me to retain people beyond that specific time. And some people do really well in a short burst and some people don't. So now I realize that in order to be able to help more people, I need something where I can have a longer period of contact with them, but not necessarily try to teach them everything in 4 weeks or 6 weeks.
Very cool. Lovely. Ryan.
Let's run it. Let's do it. So I hired a coach at the end of last year, and he gave me this idea of doing done with you services. And I'll be honest, it did sound really good the way that he explained it. So we've been doing it for a year now. I love it. I really do enjoy it. Obviously, it has pros and cons. It's hard to train people and then have the company's team be on the hook for the results, but you're the vendor, so you're saying, well, yeah, we're training them. Takes time, right? And the one thing that you don't want, that nobody wants to hear, is you got to wait or it's got to take time. So to your point, Nausheen, everything we're doing is optimizing for actually spending more time with a smaller amount, in our case, companies, not as many, individual people, but that does happen too. So on that side of things, the done with you side, that opened up a whole new side of our business. So I really am happy that we've done that. It's helped our revenue, it's helped our pricing, less calls, more revenue, all that good stuff. Different problems to solve, so still difficult to do. But that's how our service has evolved. Then we have the done for you portion, which was a little bit ambiguous. I wasn't super passionate about it. So I said, all right, listen, let's just make this not only lucrative, but let's build it out. Like, let's build the team. Let's not have like a freelancer here, there. Let's really put this together. So we built out that side. So now our options are really simple. There's a done with you option and there's a done for you option. And that's it. There's just 2 options. Now, if you want the DIY approach, same with you, Nausheen. I did the group. It did have somewhat of an endpoint, but then once the endpoint happened, some people stayed, some people didn't apply the knowledge, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. I really enjoyed it. It was lucrative too. So that's going to turn into more so a course, a little bit less time from us, but same value. So we're just going to have, that's the value ladder, basically, like DIY version, then a done with you if you want to get started, and then the full done for you if you want to take it all off your plate. So that's how we've evolved ours. If you want to know how we used to do it, it was a one-time payment. So you would pay like $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, whatever the price was. And then we would help you launch your podcast. So obviously you can imagine what the troubles were with that concept. So this last year has been a lot with the offers and types of clients that we're working with. And to cap it off, we're working with larger businesses, mid-level to large size businesses. 50, 100K a month plus. That's really the ideal kind of size to do what we're doing here.
No, super cool. I think the pivot to more recurring revenue is what I heard. Like,
yes,
it
100%.
So much.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I don't see another way, at least for this business. And not only is it better results, but it's better for us and it's better for the clients. The more you can forecast out. I mean, I wasn't even doing like a timeline or scope of work before, now that's the first thing we send. So 100% recurring is really where it's at. And the longer timeline you're going to have, the better, obviously, the results are going to come.
Exactly. I'm curious about Danny now. How's your offer evolved?
Let's see, Danny.
Yeah. So I reached like a really interesting point in May of this year where I kind of had 2 choices. I could either grow the business or I could scale it, right? And growing meaning obviously that I need to bring in more people and hire. And I just didn't want to do that. Like, I didn't want to be managing a whole bunch of people and everything like that. So I was like, how do I take what I'm doing, which is growing, and continue to grow it, but have it be only me, right? Because what I noticed was that even though because I guess because I was so visible online, when people were booking these calls, they knew that they weren't going to see me to help them make their videos, that they were going to see somebody else. And they still kind of were disappointed about it, right? That I wasn't the guy there helping them. So essentially, I kind of rewrote the business model to make it still a solopreneur business, but be able to grow significantly and take on, more clients at a higher level, but just not really. So before I was doing like one-off situations where like I would have somebody come in and record one time. So I completely eliminated that. I moved into the monthly recurring model, getting people on for a minimum of a 3-month period of time. Everybody getting to work directly with me as opposed to working with a team member. I also increased the quality on the production side. So I brought in a brand new team to do all of the production. And it is a significant level up from what we were doing earlier. And then I also got some help to build a system to get me out of the delivery hell. Because where I was having a lot of problems was people would be like, "Hey, Danny, I need a couple edits for this video, whatever." And I would be like, "Okay, cool. Email them to me." And then I got to go email them to my editing team. And I'm so bad at admin stuff. I'm like the worst. So like people would email me and I would forget to send it back to them. And then they would be like, "Hey, are my revisions ready?" And I'd be like, "Oh shit." And then I would go to the editing team and I would be like, "Hey, can you get these done like tomorrow?" And ultimately what we ended up doing is, we built this system now where all of our clients have direct access to the editing team, so that this way, if there's revisions and everything that are necessary, they can go in and communicate directly to the editing team, and I don't have to be the middleman between all this. So essentially, I quadrupled my price. I closed more clients, and I got out of all the bullshit admin stuff that I really hated doing. And now, like, things are moving very smoothly. So of course, now that things are going smoothly, you got to shake it up a little bit, right? So essentially, I have added another arm to our offer and what we can do. So instead of sitting down and doing these interviews with the founder and creating the content with the founder and the company, I'm now doing a testimonial version where I'm sitting down with the clients and interviewing the clients and capturing all the clients' best thoughts and ideas and stories about working with you, and then recording those. And then obviously with those testimonials, then, they go to, obviously they help you increase sales. They shorten the sales cycle. They're all kinds of benefits, right? Everybody knows video testimonials are probably the best thing that you can have. So with that thing though, like with the video testimonial side, that doesn't require me, right? I don't like the social media side definitely requires my skills and my talent for bringing out the best of people on camera. The testimonials, it's like we could ask a bunch of questions, we can capture the story, and there's other people that can easily handle that outside of myself. So that's the type of business that like I would look to potentially grow as opposed to scale. So I've got a sales guy that's in on this now. So he's kind of doing some of the sales for this. So I don't have to be working on the sales. So I'm kind of diversifying a little bit right now. And we'll see how it goes. Like the testimonial thing is still very new and it's still like in a testing phase right now. But very positive signs. I mean, like I think I sold like 15 grand in the first like week of just like putting the offer out there, and just like, and it wasn't like I didn't do a big launch or anything. It was just like, I put it out there like, "Hey, I'm doing this now," kind of thing. So there's some positive signs there that it could be something that we will continue with in the future and we'll look to grow. But Yeah, that's what's going on. There's a lot of moving parts, and I guess that's just part of, growing as a business owner or whatever, right? So um, it's exciting.
Very exciting. It's that self-awareness, I think. Like you single-handedly with that testimonial one, double down on the things you're good at, which is really interesting because then you don't have to be on the call. You've helped your founders make more success, but then you also kind of eliminate the issue, right, of delivery hell, because then you don't have to be in the middle, at least for that stuff, which I found really interesting. I will actually go, yeah. And then I was thinking just a bit of a tip for everyone at home, just when it comes to offers. I think if we can get a round of those before we move on to the next question, would be useful. So with my offer, I started doing at the start of the year. I just did a power hour, basically. That was how it started. Got my first $100, and I was like, "Look, Mum, Stripe, I can make money." And then it evolved into doing it for a month. So I did 500 for 4 weeks, and I called it a LinkedIn launch, where I'd coach them and do everything. So I did 2 for free, got testimonials, got a paid one. And then I ended up getting a done for you version, which was a bit more money, which is ghostwriting. And I just started to think, okay, what do I do to make money? And I thought, I have the podcast, we have the DMing people, the events, posts. So I just started plugging things on. And then now it's more like the ghostwriting is how we get in. But then I see my business evolving into more getting people clients, full stop. And I found the best way to do that is actually through events, introductions, and the content is just the lubricant over all of this. So I started interviewing more of my clients and helping them with like more podcast content. And when the whole thing's going around, then it's like a kind of all in one service. So the offer is interesting. I'm still thinking if I need to change it, but like it's still ghostwriting. I don't think people are staying with me for the ghostwriting. That's the funny part. I think all the side benefits are like adding up to more than the ghostwriting. I'm starting to realize. And I don't know if that's a problem. So my offer has evolved a lot from just teaching you how to do it to more doing it for you, but then all these side benefits, which I don't really know how to articulate. So my offer has evolved in that way, where I'm just like, how do I give you value? Here you go. Please stay. And then they stay.
People don't buy for the aggregate. They buy for the one or two things that they really want. So that's it. They saw something that they liked. And then so to your point, Harry, then that's where brand positioning comes in. Talking out of pocket here. Got to have Jason Van on for that. But then you narrow down, you figure out what that pool of people, that is the ideal people, what are the 2 or 3 things that 60% of them buy for? And then you can double down on that. I think you're right. You're in the right direction, Harry.
Yeah, maybe ask more questions rather than guess. I could probably just ask them. I haven't actually asked them that. Maybe I should.
That helps too. Interview them. That's what we do.
Hey, there you go. Sweet. Lovely. Before I move on to the final question, then we open up to Q&A to everyone who's here. Everyone, you're looking at 4 people. Go connect with them on LinkedIn. Stalk their profiles. Maybe they can help you with something. Some people
become my new stalker.
There you go.
LinkedIn stalker.
Become right.
Not a real regular stalker. Just LinkedIn's fine, but either way, I'll take it. Whatever.
But yeah, I'll plug everyone's profile in the comments. But yeah, definitely check everyone out, follow, and stick around. And we'll move on to the final question and then Q&A time.
Let's run it.
So this is from Ryan. What is your question and the context behind it?
Yeah. So the context first is I went to something called a cash day. Or cash flow day, which is run by this organization called Entrepreneurs Organization, EO. It's called. It's all over the world. I might have the revenue numbers now to get into it, but it's like, I don't know, somewhere around 250 or 500 a year or something to get into the initial, group. And so it's entrepreneurs from all different industries that come together locally. So for me, it would be Philly. If you're in New York, they have a New York one. They have them in all different cities all over the place. So I did this cash day. And the guy who spoke at the cash day had this book that he wrote called Simple Numbers, Big Profits. And so it's this thing called Profit First Accounting. And so it's a way at looking at your numbers as a business owner, not as an accountant. That's my version of it, by the way. So if there are accountants listening, then please, you can go ahead and correct me. But it's basically a profit first approach. Since that day, we've changed. I hired a bookkeeper. I hired a new accountant. I get reports every month. I know my profit. I know my P&L. Scaling is getting started is sales and marketing. Past that, it's sales and marketing and numbers and accounting, P&L, bookkeeping, all that good stuff. So that's the context for this question. I had to sit there during that cash day and I looked at my Q1 and I made negative $200. So, and I didn't know that. So that's what brings the question. Are you working more on the business or in the business or both? And how do you know? Harry, can I ask you to take this first?
I'll take it. Yeah, very, very topical for me. So my humble moment, I guess, is so I stopped kind of signing new clients about 60 days ago, I guess, because of hitting the capacity. So I was at 1.8 clients. Now I'm at 6. So a couple stopped for personal reasons, and some of them want to reactivate. I'm just not ready. And I think it's because I was definitely working in the business that much. So realizing all the activities I was doing and what I could delegate, turns out it's quite a bit. So in my world, it's ideation, the scheduling, the coming up with the Canva design, having the back and forth of the graphic. Like it's like pretty much looked at my diaries, like 60% of what's here can be delegated to $20, or if not $10 an hour activities. My issue was having enough time to step out and then actually go and do the delegation. So to answer the first part, am I working more in the business? I'm now doing both because of our necessity. I was definitely only in the business for like the last 60 days probably. Now it's more both, where I'm talking with an agency. I also have VA, have a video editor, but just trying to get everything SOP'd. And what's really helped me now, which is more tactical, is record a video. Well, in this case, it was a Loom of me doing something and explaining as I'm doing it. And then you can literally just go, ChatGPT, make this into an SOP. It does a pretty good job. And then I give this to a pretty good VA or an agency. And then sometimes the agency that I'm talking with now, which we're going to start next week, they can then tell me what's missing. It's like, we actually don't know what you mean by here. And then we iron it out. And by having that back and forth, I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to delegate.
Agency, Harry, a VA agency or a video editor? What are you referring to?
It's basically like a back-end LinkedIn agency. So it's very new.
Nice.
It was through a referral. So I won't mention them because we haven't started yet, but so far so good. The principle is they have a very big team of virtual assistants who are training different things. And I can, instead of going to individual people and having to manage them, I go to the team. That's the plan. Okay. And having that SOP framework is just really useful. And then you start to realize, I can't delegate if an idea is good. I realize I can't. I thought I could, but in practice I can't. But I can still delegate, get in all the ideas from the transcript, and then I can pick what's good. So once I know that, I can then actually delegate at least that part. And my problem was actually waiting to make everything perfect before doing it. You can just start with the smallest thing, which in my case is ideation. And then the next week, we're going to start looking at engagement when it comes to doing it as a done-for-you service. I haven't offered it a single time. Most ghostwriting agencies do that, but I haven't offered it because I don't want to be doing comments. But actually practically looking at what it's going to be, then I can delegate. So
that's you working on it, right? I mean, you can go past I don't want to do comments. Well, that's you down here. Above that is you going, well, what if we did do comments? Then how would that look? So I could just tell by the way you're talking about it. Well, hey, I mean, you can delegate anything. Is it going to be good at the beginning? Probably not, but almost anything.
Yeah. But then that's the thing. At least I shouldn't be making that choice for my clients, is what I'm realizing. I should then present the option and then they can decide. And also I can test this on my account. A lot of these things, like the video editing, for example, I used to edit, now I have a video editor. It makes sense. And it's just a lot of these things, just trying to delegate them one by one. And what you said as well, Ryan, doing the cash flow calculation and find out how much money you're actually making. Very humbling experience.
Yeah, Harry actually fired me after he did the cash flow equation because he goes, I can't be dishing this out to this guy.
Literally,
we got the results first. Then it was like, all right,
we got the results.
How it's supposed to be. It was built to do that. So exactly.
I was very happy.
No, I
but
was
when
happy
I
for you. 100%.
Yeah, I was very happy. But when I actually looked at how much money Harry was making, the funny thing I realized is 1,000 a month expense doesn't look big when you have a big revenue number. But if the profit number is is like this big, then 1,000 a month is like a third of your profit. And I was like,
Revenue
oh, wait a minute.
it almost doesn't matter at all. Yeah, it's a whole nother conversation.
True.
But I'm with you, Harry. Thank you for that response, Harry. I can tell we've known each other for a little while now. It's great. You've came a long way, man. So I've not only on the podcast side, but 100% on the business.
Yeah. Building a business, maybe. Building a real business.
Yes. Yeah. Nausheen, if you don't mind going next, I'm really curious about how you look at this too.
Sure. There are two things that stood out in your question. One was the question of scaling, and then the other one was tracking. And that's the question of scale is something I've asked myself a lot because I am a second-time entrepreneur. So when I was a filmmaker, I was an entrepreneur for the first time. And that's where we built a team. At one point, I was running a full-time team in person. We had an office. It was a very traditional type of setup. And I was the person effectively who had to make sure that everyone got their salaries, that I made payroll on time. And that would keep me up at night. So when I quit that business, I told myself that I'll never scale again, that I will always, always aim to be a solopreneur. So scale is something that I found challenging because now I'm realizing that the question for me is, how do I scale my impact without necessarily scaling the business or the team? I know that for me, I never want to go the route of subcontracting other coaches and so on. That's just not the business model I want. I always want to coach people either myself or then through a course, but it's always going to be me. It's always going to be what you get from Nausheen's brain and experience and expertise. So that's a decision that I had to make. I do have a VA. I do have people helping out with editing my videos, but I will always make that distinction between being a solopreneur business, contracting out people that mostly help me on the marketing side of things and the content and the personal brand side of things, but never ever working with my clients in any way. So that's the scale bit of it that I have figured out to an extent, at least in theory. And now 2025 is going to be more about practice. And then the tracking piece is very easy because I track everything in my calendar and it's all color coded. So I actually have business building activities color coded a dark green versus like just client delivery activities, which are usually orange. So at a glance, I can tell very quickly how much time am I spending on the business versus in the business. And I aim to strike a balance. I always have things in my calendar that are hopefully going to have an impact in a while. Things like networking, things like making sure I'm in touch with people, making sure that I follow up on certain conversations, don't let them die, things like that. I think of business building as part of that.
I should have assumed you were that detailed when it came to that. But I think we all need that. We all need to set that. Everybody talk. I mean, it's the LinkedIn post with 1,000 likes, which is set aside time to work on your business. But who actually sets, like, I'm just telling you right now, I do, but it's just not in the calendar. So yeah, and also what I gathered from you too is the best thing that you could know is what you want. Most people have no idea, right? So this is I already did that business. I already did it. I tried it out. This is where I'm at now. So yeah, lot of notes that I'm taking. So from both of you guys, and now Danny, because I know he's thinking about this too.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of was hitting on this with the last question. I'm in a really good spot with this on the video on easy mode social side of the business. Like I have plenty of time to do everything that I need to do, right? I have plenty of time to service all the clients that I have. I have plenty of time to create all the content that I need to make. And then, because I have some of those team members involved, and because we have this nice process that's kind of going pretty smoothly as far as, how we do the client delivery side of it. Right. So the testimonial thing is where essentially I want to grow that and spend zero time on it. Like that's to me. And like, it could be a part of the business that I sell off completely, right? I want to look at that as like, hey, maybe this is something that I completely sell off, right? That it's just somebody else is like, hey, this is a really good service, and I think it's worth some good money. And again, it'll take some time to get to that, but I already took all the admin work off my plate for that. So the same team that handles some of the admin stuff on the editing side, they're handling all the admin on the testimonial side. I haven't brought anybody in to do the interviews yet, but I have somebody queued up, ready to go. As soon as we have enough clients, we'll bring them in, and they will basically take over all of that piece of it, right? And I could do this all without hiring like one W-2 employee, which is amazing, right? Eventually, I do believe that the testimonial side of the business, if it does continue to grow, we do continue to go all in on that. We'll bring some other people in to run it, and I will just take my back seat and just let it run on its own and just get involved when I'm needed for that. Because ultimately, I want to get out and do new stuff. Like one of the things, like I want to like, I got to peg Nausheen for how I get myself out there and get myself more speaking gigs and I want to be out. I want to get out of my office, right? Like I spend the last 4 years, I guess, building my business from sitting in my office. Right. And first it was a basement, then it was a garage. Now it's a bedroom. So at least like I'm moving my way up a little bit. Right. But I want to get out of the office. I want to get out. I want to be mixing it up. And that's kind of where I see like, the idea of like having a business that kind of runs sustainably that I don't need to be all that involved in. And then having my social thing, which again, requires a good amount of my interaction, but doesn't take up my entire 40-hour work week calendar. So I have the time to get out and do some of the fun stuff that I want to do.
I love it, Danny. I love him. So let me say one more thing, Harry, before I pass it to you. The reason why I asked this question is because this is what we all do. We all help people work on their business or their marketing or their speaking and not in it. Though we all have to get in it a little bit to obviously get to the point where we work on it. But it's like that's ultimately what we're trying to do for everybody else. So I'm learning from all you guys, but I'm also just looking at it like, how do I know? And how do I switch now my mindset to working? Hey, look, I took all of this off my client's plate. Now I've delegated my team to do it and they're killing it. Okay, great. How do I get out of that project and zoom out, take a walk down the street and, take that time to work on my business. So I appreciate all you guys and your answers because that really helps.
Beautiful. All righty. We're now at the Q&A section. I have a couple questions coming in, which is lovely. What I want to do as the questions tick over, and I'll get to Dylan's first, is I want to ask everyone, so I'll start with Nausheen, who would you pay on this panel for their time, their service, and why? If you had just given a voucher.
Ooh. So I have one voucher, but I can't hire all of you.
Have
Is
to
that
pick
the
one.
catch?
Forever, for life.
Yeah, you get like
So
a year
hard.
of service.
That's a brutal question,
Gosh.
Harry.
That is a brutal question. But okay, so I'm just gonna say that overall, I feel like I don't do a B2B podcast, so maybe working with Ryan may not work out. I love
How could you, Nausheen?
having a conversation with him
I'm with
and
you.
working with him otherwise. So, and then with Danny, I do have a system of creating my own videos. So I, again, love and value the friendship I have with Danny. But in terms of a service that I would like to work with someone on, potentially, Harry, what you do could be something that would benefit me the most just from the point of view of that personal brand. Because writing, just like Danny, I'm with him on this. I prefer speaking to writing. I prefer creating videos. I'm loving the LinkedIn algorithm right now because it's finally favoring videos.
Yep.
So I can do
Yes.
a lot more videos now. But in general, yeah, if I could work with someone to work on the writing piece of it, for sure. So Harry, it's going to be you. Yay.
Fair. And you smash it with the writing already. So at least with the
Oh.
content I see. Cool.
Thank you.
Danny, the question is yours. And I'll add an asterisk on this, which might have helped Nausheen. Not necessarily their current services, just what would you want to learn from them as well?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I made it a bit easier.
Yeah, totally. All right, so I'm already paying Ryan right now, so we'll kind of go to the next point. So Nausheen is definitely
Podcast in the works.
Nausheen is definitely on my list of people to work with, and I'm trying to like see. This is why I need Nausheen right now, because I'm thinking too much and I'm not articulating it correctly right here. This is exactly why I need her. I'm pretty solid when it comes to getting out there. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid at all. Like I don't have that stage fight problem. Like I am the person that likes to be picked to go up in front of a crowd and speak in front of a crowd of people, right? But what I need to know is how to build the business side of that. How do I get more speaking appearances? How do I start to put together like a portfolio or like I guess it's like a speaker guide or whatever it is, right? That I could start getting out there so that I can get some of these opportunities, but also improve my speaking as well. So Nausheen is definitely like a future investment that I plan on making.
Sweet. Nausheen, could you give him a quick pointer now? Because I'm sure there's some people at home listening who probably have that problem as well. How would he get started?
Sure. So you mentioned something about a portfolio, and that's something that intimidates a lot of people. So to demystify that, you need two things. You need a speaker reel, which is basically a highlight reel of you speaking in different ways. And people have a very creative approach to this reel as well. So you can probably challenge your creativity on that. And the second thing that you need is a website. That's your speaker website where it talks about where you've spoken at, what do you speak on, what kind of speaking do you do, what are you open to, testimonials, things like that. So something that specifically caters to the speaking side of your business. That's the two things that you need to get started. And of course, you need that mindset of building something from scratch. So very often I get people asking me, Nausheen, how do I speak on the TED or TEDx stage when they haven't done a single offline talk in their lives? So yes, it's possible potentially to get on a stage like that without having done any speaking. Generally, you need to have a certain level of expertise. You need to have won a Nobel Prize or something of that sort to get on a stage of that caliber without ever speaking. But in general, you start from scratch. And I'll be the first one to tell you that I never got paid to speak for 17 years, where I was just going and speaking on any stage I could find, any opportunity. So being humble at the beginning and getting your reps in, going and speaking in person without getting paid for a little while so that you can then start getting paid, that absolutely pays off.
100%. I did my first speaking thing and it was through networking. So my brother knew the organizer and my brother was asked if I know anyone who would speak and he recommended me. And then my LinkedIn profile was enough for him to be like, yes, come speak about LinkedIn. And it was a decent stage. Wasn't paid, but to Nausheen's point, she wasn't paid for 17 years, but she was definitely paid in other ways, credibility, network, relationships. So I would echo that. The only thing I'd say is the first couple talks, you probably won't need a website, at least to get the speaker reel in my head, because your profile can do the talking, at least at your stage. I think that would be my asterisk there.
Yeah,
Sweet.
I would say I'll get to who I would choose as well, but I'll jump on this last point, which is if you want an easy, whether it's us here or anybody listening, if you want the easiest way, in my opinion, to speak that's close to home and comfortable, it's going to be the college that you went to if you went to college. Because that's what I did. I landed it from my LinkedIn for sure. They already knew me, but they would not have known what I was doing if not for the LinkedIn. So to your point, you can do it off the LinkedIn. And this was to 30 people in a classroom. Like, it's not a big, I'm not on the stage at the, graduation. That's Nausheen's level to maybe get you to that. And you have to have so many accolades. But yeah, that's would be my, don't know if you recommend that, Nausheen, but that's just how I started doing it. And now twice a year, I go back to my college and whatever they have, I bring a camera and my lavalier mic and I get some videos, hopefully for the real. So that's how I do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just like no role is too small, no stage is too small. So I love that you started wherever you could.
I mean, and I try to not go down a rabbit hole here. I prefer more people. I would so much rather speak in front of thousands than 10 people. So that's me personally. That's from my DJing experience. But anyway, yeah, get what you get 100%. If you could do 10 people, oh, you could do 1,000, 100%. And if you want the way to get there, then I would hire Nausheen for sure. So I'll go around the room here. So Danny, I'm like one of those people. I don't need somebody to ask me or probe me with questions. Am I going to create? Actually, what day is it? Wednesday? On Friday, we're doing a little thing together. I won't give any more details, Danny. Maybe you don't want them to know, but we may be working together in some capacity where I get Danny to give me his, help me through a video. So we'll see. It's still probably going to be better than what I can make on my own. But what I would like to do is have somebody interview me internally, somebody in the company at Podcast Principles. So I would like to get to that point. So for now, Danny, I'm good on the video, but hopefully we can do something internally. I think that would be a cool way to do it. We do ghostwriting, so I'm not like advertising it, but we just do it for clients who have a podcast and we write the copy for their podcast clips. So would not need a full-time ghostwriting company. But I mean, candidly, I've taken a lot of notes from Harry, what he's done with his clients, and also the resources, Harry, that you have, the SOPs. And so I've gathered a lot of info on that, and that's helped us a lot, Harry. So I appreciate that. Finally, yes, whenever I'm ready, Nausheen, I'm coming to you. I'm getting there, but let me build my reel. Hopefully all the videos don't have the same background at my college. But yeah, I would love to do some more speaking, and maybe they'll hire me to DJ first and then we can go from there. So that's my answer.
Beautiful. All righty. We'll get to some questions. So here we go.
Been really making them wait here.
Yeah, I did. I have a question. How do you deal with time management when you're starting out as a team of one, which all of us have done? So I'll let the first person who's got the burning answer to jump out on this one. I'll be the person who's like,
I got this one. All right. So what is it? It's Dylan. I hope I'm saying your name right, Dylan. Every day when you wake up in the morning, write out your top 3 priorities for the day. Like top 3 priorities, meaning the things that you cannot go to bed until you get those things done. Right? Get those things done, then work on everything else. Do that every day. That's how you manage your time. Color code your calendar. Like Nausheen said, I do the same thing. I have blocks of time for LinkedIn. I have blocks of time to create content. I have blocks of time to do prospecting and things like that. Like block out your calendar as much as possible. But top 3 priorities every morning, write them out, and do not go to bed until you cross those 3 things off that list.
Great tip. I'll add a recent discovery, which has helped me a lot, which was, if you're like me, you like to talk to people. So when people ask to call and you have an empty slot, I book it in. And when I looked at my diary, I realized I had no blocks in like October where I had like 3 hours, which was uninterrupted. So that's very important for your deep work. So what I do now, and oh my God, it's a game changer, is I manually book all my meetings after 3 p.m. my time. So like, unless it's a client call that I can't do elsewhere, I try to have the first half of my day just be empty to do the builder stuff, which in my world is writing, talking on the DMs or what have you, just stuff that I just need to do. So my next week, I can't wait. Like I have no meetings till 3 p.m. every day. So That's a recent thing I've done. Just essentially book meetings from the end of the day forward, if possible.
Yeah, I could add on. Sorry, Nausheen, you want to go for it?
Go ahead.
I got one thing. If at any time you do feel overwhelmed, which should be impossible because you should basically have nothing to do. If you have no clients, you should basically have nothing to do. So how could you feel overwhelmed? Anyway, you will though, and that happens, right? Because one client will take up all your time because they're a mentalist and who knows. Anyway, so if you do, you just write this list. For people listening, you can't see it. It's called urgent versus important list. So here you go. Yeah. So this is how complicated it is. So we're going to have urgent over here and important over here. The reason why you're overwhelmed is because your mind doesn't know what's important now. So in my experience, that's just what helped me. If you do the 3 things in the morning, that works, but sometimes it can still get overwhelming. Then I create this list. I put urgent stuff on one side. That's what I do first, and important stuff on the other side. So I know the important stuff I can do tomorrow or I can do in 3 days, but the urgent stuff I have to do today. So that's my tip.
That's very good. I'm going to steal that. That's actually topical because I think I'm blending the two. Now I'm not realizing it.
There you go. Simple list, man.
I love that. There's 2 things that helped me. Just want to share that very quickly. First is realizing that you are an entrepreneur, that you are doing the job of 5 or 10 or 15 people at any given time, cutting yourself some slack and accepting and embracing the idea that it's going to be more like sprints. So you're going to have to do some sprints at different points where you're going to be working a lot, you're going to be working weekends. And at that point, it's good to remember the second thing that I'm realizing, which is you need to have your own set of non-negotiables. So for me, for example, going away for my anniversary and taking some time off completely offline, that was a non-negotiable. Even in my away message on my email, I said, I'm going away without my computer. So please keep that in mind. I'm not going to be able to respond for these many days. And setting up your business in a way that lets you do that, of course, that's something that you have to figure out yourself. But knowing that, yes, there are going to be times where you're going to be overworking, as long as you can offset that with your non-negotiables, whether it's taking time off every few months, or, for example, going on a date night with your partner once every week or 2 weeks, whatever it is that will help offset the mental pressure and stress of overworking from time to time.
I love that.
Beautiful. Alrighty.
I need that. I got to write them down. If you write them down, that would help for me.
Sweet. More questions. I have one from Vigash. Do you have a system in place to manage your 6 clients, Harry? Yes. It's called Notion. And I did a recent upgrade recently. To make this more practical, though, essentially, you want a way to have your clients communicate with yourself, not in a way that makes it really admin-y. So for me, that's Notion. If I'm in a world of writing posts, I can have the whole conversation on Notion with comments with each post. And if I need to move the post, I don't have to go on LinkedIn and move it, and nothing's clear. Like everything's on Notion. Like practically, the answer is just yes. How to get such a system is, in my world, to be fair, just pay for coaching and then ask nicely if you can have their system, and then bottle together all the best ones. That was my shortcut. But yeah, definitely need a system. But if you don't have 6 clients, you're starting with 1, I wouldn't think about it. I'll just give them the best experience ever. And then you can start scaling the unscalable, so to speak. But you'd rather give them the unscalable thing at the start. Like if you spend all your effort on systems, then your time isn't spent on actually doing the delivery. So at the start, I wouldn't actually think about systems, only when it's like burning. Sweet.
Retweet.
I have a question from Sieda. So she asked me, how does she overcome hesitation when it comes to speaking? She wants to be fluent in daily conversation. It's a very specific question, Nausheen. Have you had this before?
Sure, for sure. So I have good news and bad news. The good news is you can absolutely get over the hesitation or the lack of fluidity that you might be feeling. The bad news is I can't give you a very quick trick that you can apply right now after this live event that will solve all your problems. We pick up and develop certain ways of speaking or inhibiting ourselves over the span of our lives. So you've probably developed speaking habits based on your decades of communication. And it's going to take time to first be intentional about them. So you're already taking the first step, which is you're becoming more aware of what could potentially be your shortcomings. I would advise you to go a step further and also look at what are the natural strengths that you've developed as a speaker and communicator. And that's that first step of self-awareness. Then you can work on maximizing your skills wherever you feel like you're strong, because that's the shortest distance between you and being exceptional. And then I would look at, of course, the opportunity areas. In this case, it could be your hesitation, your inhibition, potentially you feel nervous or you feel shy, and looking at where it's stemming from, what are the strategies that you can use to overcome it, going and trying out those tools in the real world, and then coming back and looking at what's working and not. So that's actually the coaching process. And that can take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. Overall, I've seen a lot of great results in between the 2 to 3 month period, where you work very intensely on being more confident, feeling more at ease, getting over the nerves.
Beautiful. Mic drop. I have this question, which applies to everyone, which I'm actually curious. So we all do research on our clients at some point. I'm wondering how it's evolved. So mine's changed a lot recently, but I won't go first. So I'm curious, before you start work with a client, like what research do you do? Ryan?
None, just take the money, figure it out later. I'm kidding.
Let's go.
I'm kidding. No, I mean, that's what I did in the beginning, right? So naturally in the beginning, you go, oh my God, there's money. They gave it to me. That's crazy. That's what happens in the beginning. It's actually amazing. It's crazy. It's very wild. So you get focused on that. That is just the exchange. That's the implied part. So yes, now, okay, what's the process now? The best thing I can do is not only go to the client, but take one-on-one the other people who are involved, whether directly or indirectly. So if we work in a company and there's a marketing problem, and there's a CMO, that's just one person. That's just the person in charge of the problem. There's so much more going on behind the scenes that you don't know. So at least in our context, where we're coming in and solving one problem and then uncovering 7 more, the best thing I can do is really take other people in the business aside and figure out what the other offshoots are. The main cheat code here to end with this is have an account manager and a project manager. They're 2 different people. There's a podcast called Two Bobs, if you want to look that up, and they go through all of that. It's called Two Bobs, The Art of Creative Entrepreneurship. You can go through that podcast. They really detail this relationship between account manager and project manager and what they do differently. So yeah, don't get caught up on just, oh my God, they gave me this money. Your job, if you really want to stay there, not only do you have to uncover the real problems that exist, but you also got to find ways to solve them too.
I'll jump in here. Having a very strong pre-qualification process before you actually have a conversation with somebody has been a game changer for me. So when somebody books on my calendar to book an appointment with me, I just ask a couple of very simple questions. The typical stuff. And I think it's like 3 questions. But once people actually go and book that appointment, my calendar automatically sends them a link to a qualification form that I ask them to fill out prior to the meeting. And I ask questions like, what has your experience thus far been with video? What channels, how often do you post videos? What channels do you currently post videos on? Can you link me to a video that you've done that you really like? Can you link me to a video that somebody else has done, like a style that you really like of videos, right? So I have this entire pre-qualification form that's done, and that kind of lets me understand, one, like what some of the challenges that this person has. It also helps me understand like what are some of the things that this person wants to achieve by working with me. And then it also helps me understand like what level that they're at, whether they're at a level where I think that I could potentially help them. And if you have a good process like that, you are going to close a lot more sales calls, and you are going to get a lot more ideal clients potentially. But there's also, I forgot, the price qualification is also in there too. letting people know that whether they can afford your services or not, they understand some expectation of what the minimum cost is going to be. And when you have this kind of piece done before you ever get on your sales call with them, you know exactly what you need to do in the sales call to move it along and relate it to the points that they care about most. So it gives you a very big advantage. And for anybody who's using Fathom, like the paid version of Fathom is like baller stuff, by the way. Like it breaks down like the client by sales methodologies, and you can literally say like what their requirements are, what are the things that they care about most. Like it says that right. It lists it out for you right in the Fathom like notes. So post meeting, like if you're going to go and write a follow up or send a proposal, like you've got all the information that you need so that you can do some good follow up and help to close that client. So, and I think it costs $150 for the year for that Fathom. Like go invest in that. It was like some of the best $150 you could ever spend.
Is that a Google form that you're using for the form?
My form's through HubSpot, but you can do it as through Google or anything.
Within the CRM makes a lot of sense to me. So, okay, cool. Thanks.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Nausheen?
So a lot of the research that I do is with the client, but it's before we start working together. It's pretty much between the time that we get signed on and the first session. So my goal right at the beginning is to figure out three things. First, how does this person perceive their own communication skills to be? What are the strengths that they're seeing? What are the opportunity areas that they're seeing? It's interesting because a lot of people come to me with some form of a traumatic experience that they've gone through. Either they've spoken somewhere and they haven't felt very satisfied by it, or they've gotten feedback that hasn't been great. So we look at how are they perceiving themselves, but that's not the complete picture. So then we look at how are other people perceiving them. So we do an anonymous peer feedback survey right at the beginning, where I ask the client, before we even start working together, I design this survey and I have them share it with 15 to 20 to 25 of their teammates, clients, ex-colleagues, current colleagues, management if they're in a company, or just friends and family. Anyone who's seen them speak and is able to contribute to that perception. And then the third thing is, of course, me giving them feedback on my perception of where they're at. So those are the three things that I do a lot of deep work with the client on before we even get to any coaching or training. And that really sets the foundation of the work that we're going to be doing together in terms of helping them have a better and a richer understanding of how they're communicating. And then we setting very specific goals for ourselves. This is exactly what we want to be working on. This is exactly the change or the improvement that you want to see.
Did not know it was that deep.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. I love the peer review as well built in, because then you know it's true.
Yeah, it is very, very often is the very first time that people are asking others for feedback on their communication skills. Even in very corporate 360 feedback reviews, communication skills might be a very small part of that overall review that your team does. But this is specifically focused on just communication skills. So yeah, it's eye-opening for a lot of people.
Yeah, amazing. In my world, I always ask everyone I speak to, this is before they even give me money. Usually the first question is a very small one, which is, why do you get up in the morning? What drives you? Because then the way they answer that question really shows you the type of person they are. And in the world of ghostwriting, yes, you have the outcome of signing clients, which is what I communicate about. And most people have that as their primary action. But then people have different perceptions of what that means. Some of them don't mind it helping the overall impact of signing clients over the next 6 to 12 months. This is a very different person. Then I can be more long-term thinking. If they want clients within 90 days, then I'm like, okay, I should be spending more of my time making this list amazing and getting these awesome testimonials from the person. So that's one question. And then when it comes from a ghostwriting perspective, I pretty much interview them, get them to explain their life. And I have just a questionnaire. I just say, guys, block out 4 hours. And they tell me the worst moments of their life, best moments of their life, kind of there's a lot of like life questions. And it's funny. They usually, once they're in the zone, they write stuff which they've never said before. But then I can then take that and become a post, which is really nice because they've just opened up and done it. So that is what I do. So I ask them what drives them, and then I get them to fill out a big questionnaire and then big old podcast, which should give me enough stuff to go off. Beautiful. All righty, we have time for one more question, which is then going to mean for everyone. So it is for Nausheen again. Can you share some tips for multilinguals on how to speak publicly without feeling awkward sometimes around natives?
Yeah, I've worked a lot with non-native English speakers, and I liken it to my experience speaking in French when I'm not a native French speaker. So I know where you're at. It's that painful spot of thinking that everyone's judging the level of language that you've acquired, your level of vocabulary, and you're giving yourself a lot of stress over finding the right word, making sure that you're saying things exactly the right way. But guess what? A lot of that is in your head. You are the worst critic that you're subjecting yourself to. So if you can just aim to communicate, shift the focus from you to them. How can you best serve the audience? Why are they there? They're not really there to judge you unless you happen to be on American Idol. What they're doing is they want to learn from you. So if you can help them learn something, if someone can walk away knowledge rich after having heard you speak, then you've done your job. So figure out how can you focus on just communicating the ideas without being too in your head and overthinking everything. And it's, I know, easier said than done, which is why it's something that you have to work on over a period of time. That's really the key there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Guys, we're at time. I will stick around for more. If anyone wants to stick around, they can. But just want to thank the panel. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Nausheen, for spending your evening with me, or afternoon if you're in the States. But yeah, how did you guys find it? Had a good time?
Oh, that was great.
It was awesome.
Yeah. No,
yeah, thank you so much for setting this up.
Yeah, Harry, you're the GOAT for that, man, setting them up, because we're all in our zone, doing our thing. So it's kind of, this is an exercise of taking you out of your typical Wednesday routine too. So
sweet.
Love it.
Beautiful. So everyone who's listening, either async or live, please go follow these beautiful people. They produce content which help day to day what they do, and just generally very, very nice folk. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Danny.
Yeah.
Nausheen,
Thank you.
Great
Catch
to see you
all
guys.
later.
Harry, thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
You got it.
And lovely. Hello, everyone. So I will stick around for another 5 to 10 minutes for any extra questions, but we have around 30 people still with us. So thank you very much, everyone at home. Peace, Ryan. But yeah, how did you guys find it? Do you have any questions for me personally? Feel free to put them in the chat, and I'm happy to help. Otherwise, I'm happy to close off. But yeah, this is the second LinkedIn playbook I've done. And what I will do while the stream catches up is I'm actually going to find a link to the privated video to the first one I did, which is all about LinkedIn, which may be useful for a little gift for everyone who stays near the end. So I will find that link for you guys. Voila. Boom. Well, my pleasure, Dylan. And I need that evidence of that croc. Context for Dylan is he did a guess the meme that my brother was dressed up for Halloween, and then he got it right. So then I bought him some Batman crocs is the answer. But yeah, amazing. Thank you, Galina. Really appreciate it. And thank you very much. That's right, Vikash. Crocs getting my attention. You know it. That is the way. What kind of PC do I have? Interesting question. I have a laptop. I just have a laptop. It's a custom built laptop from PC Specialist. So I just killed my camera from doing that. So Let's see if I can fix it. All right, we got this camera now. I killed my camera showing you my PC. But yeah, it's a custom laptop from PC Specialist. Would not recommend it anymore because of the new tech. So I'll probably get a Mac Air or one of the new Intel laptops. And yeah, it's just a maxed out PC Specialist laptop from the past. Alrighty, let's find this workshop for you guys. There it is. Sweet. So for everyone at home who's still with us, I've got a link to the old one we've done. So LinkedIn Playbook 1, which is a privated video seen many times. So I'll add that to the screen. If you want to go watch it, there it is. It's a secret link. So these stay private for a while before they get edited. And the first one was with Laura Costa, Luke Matthews, Matt Barker, and Jacob Peps, 4 massive creators. So that is the link to LinkedIn Playbook 1. Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for staying. We actually pretty much retained all the viewers. Ahmad, my pleasure. Hope you had a good time. Thank you, Ryan, who's sticking around. Legend. Beautiful. All righty. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'll stick around for one more minute and then we'll call it a day. Amazing. Nice one, Dylan. Get those Crocs. McDonald's locally in Cyprus, their Happy Meal product is a Croc, which is amazing. So I have actually been getting McDonald's to try collect all the little ones, which is nice. So that's been my little Croc fantasy. Yeah, all good. Thank you, Vikash. I will leave on that happy note. Everyone, have a fantastic rest of the day. Feel free to connect with me and DM me on LinkedIn. If you've got any questions, happy to spend some time answering anything you have. Anything building a business, LinkedIn, happy to help. And thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Last thing, maybe follow the podcast page if you haven't. So the event that this is hosted on, the Gaming Playbook, if you follow it, you will get announcements of the new one. And that is my final plug. So thank you so much and see you later. Goodbye, everyone.